All right. Mary is Tulsa Fox, also on the other account, Mary Avers, of course. In the audience with us tonight, we've got Vicky Savage saying many blessings. I'm wondering if we can leave the can. I wonder if we can leave the can. I don't know. I don't know. Mary says, and Google doesn't like any of my passwords. So Mary was having some issues earlier today. Apparently, she had left a comment and decided to, or left a reply to a comment and decided to copy and paste it and leave a full, more extensive comment. And YouTube didn't like it and decided it was spam and told her that she couldn't leave comments for a little while. I've never had that happen. I have copied and pasted a portion of a reply and made a more complete and well thought out comment out of that before and not gotten a spam warning or anything like that. It's weird. All right, so Vicky saying candy lilies in the ground for the winter, mulch them or dig them for storage. Depends upon how cold you expect the ground to get. If the ground's not going to drop below 5 degrees Fahrenheit, you can probably get away with keeping them in the ground. If the ground's going to get colder, then have some dug up and put away in peat moss. They'll be safe that way. All right, so yeah, I was looking at some stock footage from earlier. I wanted to find one where I'd had the wood stove. Uh, I took some footage of cooking breakfast on it last this February or so, and I thought I still had some of that, and I was going to grab a screenshot from that, and I couldn't find it. So while I'm sitting there looking through old footage, I've got a folder that just sort of has all the little bits and pieces and scraps of things that I think I might want to do something with in the future. I sort of throw that footage in there, and there was a whole bunch of wine cap mushroom harvesting videos that I never did anything with, where I'm just going around picking up the wine cap mushrooms. I had intended to do this entire thing where we gather the mushrooms, I cook some, and we dehydrate some and stuff like that. And I never got around to completing that entire video sequence. I was pretty sure that my old cooking breakfast on the wood stove video was there, but I couldn't find it. So in the midst of all of that, there had been a moment when I sat down, when I had sat down outside on the porch in the midst of processing wine cap mushrooms. This was this spring. We just got the ducks in. So we had little ducklings out there, and I was picking out a song that was something like. So I was doing that sort of thing. And I was thinking, little lyrics to go like, "You're just an old ugly duckling," something like that, because it was making, sort of singing it to the ducks. And I'd forgotten all about it. So I kind of dug that up. And that's the reason why I had the guitar, because I was playing around with it earlier. One of those little things. So the seasons are changing, guys. We got an actual frost freeze last night. I got up this morning, and the ice was formed up over the little duck puddles, our little duck buckets that we've got out there. We have these 15-gallon tubs that are marked off 5 gallons, 10 gallons, 15 gallons. So it makes it really easy to manage putting water out for the ducks. But they were frozen over about maybe a quarter inch or so. Oh, and of course, we got to fire up the wood stove last night, and I had it running, of course, again today. So I went out and I got the camera and I shot some. Here's me opening up the stove, and we can look inside and see what's going on in there. That's a log stove. We harvested all the wood mostly last year. Pretty much all the wood that I'm using this year is wood that I harvested last year before winter even arrived. So it's been curing for that entire season. Beam me up, Mr. Scott says wine cap equals chanterelle. It's actually King Stropharia or Stropharia rugosa annulata is the wine cap mushroom. It grows on wood chips, usually hardwood, or just about any kind of hardwood or medium hardwood. Doesn't really like growing on pine and cedar and stuff like that, but every other kind of hardwood it grows on. So your typical wood chip drop from municipal services or from the line trimmers or whatever, your typical mixture of that sort of stuff, if you can get a hold of a lot of it, is sufficient to feed the King Stropharia mushroom. So you just get mushrooms as a byproduct of breaking down wood chips into nice humus to make the topsoil. Kind of a nice extra bonus. So yeah, my mushroom book doesn't have wine caps. Look up King Stropharia, Stropharia, or Stropharia rugosa annulata. There you go. But chanterelles are nice too. Let me see. Wine cap Stropharia, you found it. Yeah. These things, they taste a bit like a portobello mushroom that's been simmered in wine. That's the way it comes out tasting, which is why I also get the wine cap. But also it has a reddish cap, kind of a burgundy reddish cap. Sometimes goes to a brown, and very, very tasty. And this is a byproduct of taking wood mulch and turning it into soil. I scattered the King Stropharia spawn in everywhere. And so it's running around breaking down the wood chips that we drop in there and turning it into good dirt and making mushrooms for us as a little extra. I don't know if I'm going to see any mushroom blooms, any flushes from the King Stropharia this year or not. So if we bounce back from this freezing weather and we get into the 60s and low 70s for an extended period of time with some rainfall, that we might see another flush of them, because they'll flush around 68 degrees. But it needs to stay at that temperature for a little while. And if it doesn't, then we won't see it. Today we dug up some canna root. We boiled it, cut it, split it, took the skin off, cut it up into little thin slivers, tossed it in a skillet with some bacon fat, some dot greens, a little bit of eggs. I used chicken eggs because our ducks aren't laying yet. But I used 6 chicken eggs, which is the equivalent of 4 duck eggs, or approximately what you get from 6 ducks in one day if they're the khaki Campbell type of ducks that we have. So pretty much, here's food from the yard. Enjoy. It fills you up pretty good. Let me see here. Other things that we've been doing. I brought in our guppies couple days ago when we knew that freeze was coming up. So brought in the guppies. I haven't counted. I have not been able to count the number of guppies we have. More than 7. We'll put it that way. I did a tough tote, little 27. I remember one year in Beaver Lake, frozen hard. I walked out, couldn't break through the ice with a rock the size of my head. Sometimes it gets cold. Anyway, so tough tote, 27 gallons. We had about 25 gallons of it filled. With water, lava rocks on the bottom. I had azolla and sphagnum moss, actually free-floating sphagnum moss in that tub, providing the service of converting the fish waste into fertilizer for, of course, their life processes and reoxygenating the tank. And, of course, the azolla provides a nice food stuff for the guppies to eat. So they're sitting here eating other little tiny aquatic critters and insects and feasting on azolla and stuff like that. After I got them established, I did not feed them, and they kept on reproducing, which is kind of cool. So I just created this environment that they would grow in, and they could survive off of what was growing in the environment. I had water chestnuts in that same setup with the idea that, okay, eventually this is going to kind of help feed everything. All of this is aquatic plants and things that need to have a root system going into an aquatic environment. Started out with 2 water chestnut plants. At the end of the growing season, we had a total of 6, plus 3 of the water chestnuts, which, of course, as you know, they sprout and form new plants. So essentially, we've got 9 plants altogether. 9. There we go, 9 plants out of that. So not a bad growing season getting started. Started out with 7 guppies, and I don't know how many are in there now, just dozens. As many as the system can really handle. It's pretty much the way it is. Whenever it gets too crowded, then the numbers drop off. But they haven't been able to eat the azolla faster than it can reproduce, which is kind of cool. And Mimi was saying likes the way guppies are easy to read. Yeah, they're super easy. They're live bearers. There's a couple other varieties that you can get that are live bearers, but just having one that is capable of doing that is pretty useful. And that is a bug crawling across my screen. Oh my gosh. Weather changes. Gotta love it. Kimber's saying hi from the other room. Yeah, I used to keep Oscars and Jack Dempsey's and stuff like that. But the way I figured is I needed something in my aquatic system that was going to be capable of eating mosquitoes. I know guppies can eat mosquitoes, so I put the guppies in there with the idea of, hey, you know what, they can probably take care of themselves for the most part, and really they did. If I didn't have to worry about the possibility of that entire tote freezing over in the winter, I might be tempted just to let them stay in the tote, but it doesn't have quite as many gallons of water capacity as my grandmother's little feed tub ponds, and it doesn't have the advantage of having earth to shelter it the way those did. So I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. I'm working on this winter. I'll be working on digging out a larger pond in the back, and once I've got that larger pond that can maintain a bit of thermal mass throughout the winter, then I might just let them go and stay in that pond year round. That's what I'm looking for anyway. So we moved those. I guess shot some video of that. I might put it up. I don't know yet. It's just I shot the video. We'll see how it turns out. Jeez, probably about 100 guppies. Yeah, it's easy to get tons of them. But the eventual idea is I want to raise freshwater shrimp. But if you're going to raise freshwater shrimp in any sort of large area, and there's going to be exposed to the outside, then you're going to have a problem with mosquitoes, and you can deal with it one of a couple ways. You can either get chemicals and treat your water to deal with the mosquitoes. You can keep it covered up so the mosquitoes can't even get to the water at all to lay their eggs. That's one possibility. Or you can get another fish to go in there to eat them. That's what I opted with. I decided to go ahead and use the guppies as a pest control. Of course, the other advantage of having guppies is I can use those as a feedstock for just about anything else. The ducks will eat them. It's extra protein. Ducks will eat them. Or I can feed them to other fish. Once I've got freshwater shrimp into the arrangements, then I'll have a group of freshwater shrimp working the lower strata, crawling amongst the rocks, breaking down the leaves and things like that, picking up the detritus and finishing off a more complete ecosystem. Vicky's saying, yeah, I think she's right. Goldfish are just colored carp. Pretty carp. That's what they are. Pretty little grass carp. And they can handle a wide range of temperatures. Yep. You have tarantula guppies? Oh my gosh. I have no idea what a tarantula guppy is. These are just the run of the mill fancy guppies you get the pet store. But they do for a nice foundation in an aquatic environment. And so I've imported some other things in as the season was ending, and before last night's frost, I grabbed some canna lily, and I took a couple of the stalks that have roots attached that didn't really have any tubers, any rhizomes on them. It's a horrible year for cannas, by the way. The drought was just didn't let them produce to their full capacity, so I'm gonna have to keep this in mind. They need a lot of water. So the tarantulas, the spider, the guppies are okay. Anyway. You're wondering if you can feed. Okay, he's wondering if he can feed the fish to the spider. Now I don't know. Maybe. I mean, some spiders are adapted to hunting for fish. Some sort of Amazonian species sit there and go, okay, there's fish. But I don't know if the tarantula would do it. Who knows? Try it out, but have a backup plan. You probably have a better off time trying to feed them crickets. Where are they? Colored carp. I lost my train of thought entirely. Oh yes, I picked it up again. So I've been experimenting with this aquatic systems for a little bit, and eventually I want to expand them. I took two canna roots or two canna stalks with roots attached, and I put those down there into the tub once I brought it indoors. So now the back room that faces the south, it's got a window where light can get through, and plants can grow in this little niche here, this little corner, this little pocket that actually gets sunlight during the winter, and it's like a little miniature greenhouse. It's got a tub with guppies in it and some aquatic plants, and now a couple of cannas, which apparently can grow in an aquatic environment and really like water. So it'll be interesting to see if those take off and grow. I went ahead and moved all of the water chestnuts into that environment. I need to organize them somehow that they can be comfy and not take up too much space. And one other thing that we did before the freeze is I went out there and I cut the vines to my Murasaki purple sweet potatoes. So I've got a couple of totes which have Murasaki purple sweet potatoes growing in the grape arbor area. And the grapevines grew some this year too. But so the pet stores have been running a racket on the crickets lately. Up to 5 cents. Well, I mean, it's 25 cents. 25 cents is just too much, right? And then you can't find them altogether. Jeez, inflation. All right. So anyway, I grew these Murasaki purple sweet potatoes out there in the grape arbor, and I went ahead and harvested the vines off of them before the freeze hit. So the vines came off. And I brought those inside. And I'm trying to get them to root. If I can get them to root, yeah, 25 cents a cricket is way too much. If I can get them to root, I'll attempt to grow them out of the tub with the guppies, so that we'll have an entire aquatic setup with a bunch of different plants growing out of it. Hopefully that'll take care of the sediment issue, the solids collecting on the bottom. If I get enough plants in there to pull out the carbon, I can probably manage to grow a wide variety of things indoors in the winter out of a guppy tank. Uh-huh. So that's the show. That's all I'm doing. What are you guys up to? Tonight's show is brought to you by Fulton's Harvest Pumpkin Pie Cream Liqueur. Yum. Put this in your coffee and you'll think it's the holidays. All right. Yeah, it might be a good idea if you've got something out there that's gonna get frost struck. Get them indoors before it's too late. Da-da-da. Oh, it's a slow night. Where is everybody? You guys want to hear me play more music? Okay, fine. I'll play more music. Jeez. I'm going to twist my arm. Shoot. Cheesecake loves my... Did the cat escape again? Or are you just saying that as a point of conversation? But Kimber's the one of the house guests that we have currently. They have a cat that's staying with them, and the cat is named Cheesecake. Cheesecake likes to escape from the room where he is and run across into my room. I do not know why, but that's what he wants to do. All right, so I started playing around with that back in spring, I guess. Boy, and then I've been busy doing other stuff all year and haven't played around with it since then. If y'all want to see him, oh, she's gonna bring out the cat. Yeah, bring out Cheesecake. He's a cutie. Guys, when they see a cute kitten, okay, here comes a cute kitten. It's gone from 90 degrees to 15 degrees a day. Oh wow, in Colorado. Kitty, oh hi, kitty. Look, it's people. Look, if you look right there, you can see people, little tiny people. You see the little tiny people? See the little tiny people moving in there? There's a whole bunch of people. No, look at them. It's a whole bunch of people, and they're like all staring at their phones, and they're staring at computer screens, and they're all looking at you, kitty. That's right, they're all looking at you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So this is Cheesecake. He's just a little cat.
Got him when he was 4 weeks old.
He's so smooth. Are you a smooth kitty? Are you a smooth kitty? Look at that. Oh, it's a baby. It was a baby. That's amazing. Oh. And he just sits here and purrs and purrs and purrs and purrs and purrs. There you go. Take the thing. Bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, the other one, I slipped her a little bit of kibble before I started, and she hasn't come around and bugged me yet. It wouldn't be a show without a cat popping in at some point, right? So what else do we have to do? We've got experiments going on with aquaponics, of course, indoors, guppies, all that good stuff. I don't know if I'm going to get the shrimp and bring them in over the winter or not. I might. I'm kind of playing it by ear at the moment.
This one got jealous because he didn't get any attention.
Oh, hang on a second. We've got a.
The big buddy.
No, I can't see you. Oh, hello. This one's name is Tiger. Meow. Oh, Tiger's. Are you camera shy, Tiger?
No,
Tiger's
he just
shy.
doesn't.
He's really camera shy.
He's used to being confined to one room his whole life.
I've been hurt before. It's so hard for me to trust. Oh.
His old human mom used to keep him confined to one room, either a bathroom or a bedroom. This one's more of the cuddle bug.
Aww.
And he has a permanent cowlick at the top of his head.
There you go. Meow. Yeah, little ginger kitty. There you go. Meow.
But yeah, we don't have the bigger version of these two.
All right. Vicky is saying, whoa, hang on. Getting 2 more residents here tomorrow. They're mutts. Okay. You're getting. Problem with dogs is they just don't know how to handle the other end of a shovel, you know? No, I can't see you. I really can't. Hey, Drops is in the house. Same color, slightly yellow ears and tail. But what is Tiger? Or the other kitty? That's why we're always laughing. Yeah. It's all a ruse. It's all a ruse. It's a scam. It's intended to elicit the production of oxytocin in their victims, so that we'll want to take care of them. Mm-hmm. See, it's the way the way the wicked world works. Humans own dogs, cats own humans. They are the evil masterminds planning on taking over the world. Drop saying white cat with yellow ears and a tail. Uh-huh. We've got a strange white one hanging out right now. I haven't been able to make contact with him in any meaningful sort of way. He likes to lurk around whenever I put food out for our outdoor kitty. Ooh! Yay! Good news, everybody. This just in. Today, I caught Sergeant Crybaby, the outdoor kitty, the rodent hunter who has been neglectful in his duties to the point where he would just walk right by a little mouse on camera and do nothing about it. That cat. You guys remember from a few months ago, it's shame. Caught the cat just walking right, saw the mouse, said, hey, look, he's right there, cat. He's right there. Cat just walks right by it, doesn't pay any attention. All right, so Sergeant Crybaby. I caught him earlier this evening chewing on a rodent. It was a gopher that he had caught. So he is back in business and catching rodents the way he's supposed to. Yay! We don't have to fire him after all. Yeah, but Sergeant is old. Anyway. Stabby McStabwood says you grow into those jasmine cigarettes down in. Okay, I didn't even know what a jasmine cigarette is. Mm-hmm. Dogs look up to us. Cats look down on us. Swine consider us equals. Maybe Winston Churchill. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like something he would say, right? And Katie's in the house. Hi. Oh my goodness. Yeah, cats look down on us. I don't know. They have opinions. Yep. So the kitty is back in business. All right, so we got 10 of you here. Are you guys ready to hear the big news? You're going to see it in the video soon enough anyway. Jamaican tomatoes, the devil's... Oh! I mean, doesn't it grow just about everywhere? Yeah, it grows here. It grows everywhere. It grows really well out by Stillwell, I think would be where you want to look. Anyway, so the big news. The big news is, and somebody stopped watching the stream after hearing that there was big news. I can't believe it. That's just funny. I don't doubt it either. Oh, somebody else left. Ha! All right. So now that we got all the losers out of the stream, as you guys know, I've been working for a couple of years now on trying to air layer pecan trees. I know, right? Usually, whenever you get a pecan tree, you've got a nut that's been planted, and you've either got a seedling that's a cross of whatever parent species were in the area. And I've put out shipped a few that are like that, that are crossbreed of either the Wichita and the other Wichita that are here, or of a native that's across the old Katy line over there. But we've got different trees genetics that can be crossbred here. In any case, it's going to be a pecan tree. But as far as being able to get specifically the cultivar, the only way you're ever able to do that with a tree is to either get a sucker started or to start a cutting, which is I've never been able to get a cutting from a pecan tree to take. But I've been trying air layers of pecan trees. And this year we did 7 altogether. And of those 7, I just cracked them open and looked, and 2 of them had roots. So I have successfully gotten 2 pecan trees to root by air layering. So these are exact clones of the Wichita pecan that is in the front yard. Nice paper shell, small, sweet paper shell pecans. As opposed to the giant ones that taste kind of like cardboard. You don't want those. You want something that has a little bit of flavor to it. These are nice flavored. So I know that the genetics is going to produce a nice, good flavorful pecan. Kimber saying one of them I cut some of the root. Yeah, the first one that I opened up, I was not incredibly careful whenever I opened it up, and this was before I had the camera on, and I wound up damaging one of the roots. I went, okay, I went ahead and planted that one, And then the other one I did in front of the camera. So we're going to have a video coming out soon where you get to see me taking a branch that I've cut off the end of a pecan tree with a little baggie with peat moss in it, cutting into it and peeling it open. There's the roots that have formed in midair from a pecan tree making its own. Anyway, so I'm thinking probably next year we're going to do it a little bit earlier, probably just as soon as they break dormancy in the spring, maybe as soon as I can slip the bark. Stabby McStabwood saying, nice, let's think about 3D printing some clamshells to try air layering with the magnolias we have on the farm. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I suppose you could try that. I haven't played around with magnolias in a while. I used to like to play with the little seed pods that fell off of them. Those are fun. The big leaves too. You get a puddle and a big magnolia leaf, and you put the big magnolia leaf out there and float it on the puddle, and then stack pecans on it like little passengers on the boat. You put a few of them over there. You have them floating across, the puddle. They're floating on the surface of the puddle. And then you imagine that this is, D-Day and this is the Normandy invasion, and you're the Germans. You're just throwing rocks at them, trying to destroy them as they come in. Okay, I didn't have any toys as a kid. Anyway, the plastic clamshells, yeah, if you could 3D print them instead of having to pay for them, I'd try that. I just wound up ultimately using a plastic baggie and a handful of peat moss. And if I had to do it again, I'd still think plastic baggie and peat moss is probably the best way so far. It's not necessarily the cheapest, but it's the best. And maybe instead of a 5-gallon trash bag, I'd use maybe a 15-gallon kitchen trash bag and 2 handfuls of peat moss, so I can get a little bit more moistened peat moss in there. I think that might help out a little bit. And then I probably would go ahead and put in some rooting hormone, which I didn't do. I didn't use any rooting hormone or anything on those 7 air layers. So, stuff like do something to reduce the possibility of a fungal infection. Probably a good idea. Bacterial infection reduction, that would be a good idea too. And then rooting hormone if you've got it to help things on just a little bit. To the battle of the puddle have any nutty vets? Hard to say. I do entire battles with little tiny sticks. You take a stick and you break it off in a piece. Stick in the ground. There's a soldier or however many soldiers you have, and of course you get back and forth. And however many sticks you have over on this side, that's the number of rocks you get to throw. So you get to throw that number of rocks. However many sticks you have on this side, that's the number of rocks you get to throw back over there. So you throw those number of rocks. And then you count up the size and then do it all over again. Whichever side wins, whichever side loses. I mean, what do you do to pass your time whenever you have no toys and you're a child in the woods? That's what I did. But we didn't have toys, we just had nature. We have a bunch of magnolia trees around here because it was really popular as a backyard tree. And so there's quite a few. You remember that one? Daisies from the dollar store. They grew beautifully, but they never flowered. Oh. So you have to keep the plant alive and then it'll pop back next year and actually produce the flower next year. That'd be cool. Got some Hormex. All right. Typically use Clonex for all our cloning needs. Oh man. I can't remember what the rooting hormone powder I've got. I don't even know if I have a jar. Sometimes I have a jar of it sitting around here and I just like reach over. I have this stuff. It's you never know what's going to be within arm's reach of me when I'm sitting at the desk. It could be anything. I think so. That staple gun from back from earlier. Back, I say. So Vicky is saying there her experience with daisies, most of them are perennials, but just more or less tender. I mean, Other than being pretty and providing a source of food for bees, what do we use daisies for? Clonex gel's like $20 and the powder's like $5. Oof. And the powder works fine. So we're going to be doing a lot of cloning with sweet potato vines, of course, this year. Hopefully, I'll be able to go a little bit nuts with sweet potatoes next year. Just look pretty and attract the bees. Okay, it's good enough reason. I attract stirs of something for the pollinators and fills in one of those layers in your garden. That's enough reason to plant anything, really. Yes, Vicky, I'm in front of the green screen. As you can tell, if I get out of the way, that's my shirt and my head, and that's the yeah. I just took a snapshot of the fire, and it's in the background. That's the picture of the fire behind me. Not yeah. The fire's over there, and the door's closed. It's not too cold right now. I just have a little bit. Just have a little bit smoldering in there, and that's about it. That's about it. Marigolds found out they actually attract bugs. You know, sometimes you want to attract bugs. That's the thing, though. I mean, if you grow something like dill, or fennel, and that attracts your hoverflies. Hoverflies like to put their larvae on the backs of harmful insects, and then whenever those eggs hatch, lay their eggs there. Whenever the eggs hatch, the larvae eat your pest insects. So hoverflies are nice. They come along, they pollinate the flowers, and they serve as a control on pests. Oddly enough, whenever you have a problem with regulation in the ecosystem, often the answer is you're probably missing something. So if you can find the thing that you're missing in your ecosystem and err on the side of an increase in diversity of life instead of a decrease, then you're probably producing a more resilient system. Does that mean that you'll have pretty crops all the time? Nope. You'll have little bug bites here and there. Your veggies will have a bug bite here. Your corn's going to be a little eaten by worms here. I think found a total of 2 cornworms this year. 2 cornworms, absolutely no pesticides. So, I wound up having to cut a little bit off. Okay, but I don't have to worry about any pesticide contamination downstream. It's not going in. If I feed it to my livestock, it's not going into my livestock. If I eat it myself, I'm not ingesting it either. So, there's something to be said to not voluntarily ingest what might be commercially marketed as chemical weapons. Let's see. Oh, cold in Iowa. Good question. She'll come back. Marigolds are edible, says Vicky. At least the flowers are. I didn't know marigold flowers are edible. So now I'm going to have to go experiment. I'm going to use safer soap for pest control and neem oil. So I've experimented with neem oil a little bit. The reason I really haven't gone rah for the neem oil is because I don't have an effective means of producing it. I kind of try to avoid, to a certain extent, having too many things growing in the garden that I can't take care of based on what I have here. If it's going to take resources that I cannot source locally, if I can't produce my insecticide myself, for example, then I don't want to be dependent upon it. So I have tobacco plants growing. Yes, I know. I don't smoke tobacco anymore. I quit smoking. But the possibility that I might someday possibly want something that can kill bugs effectively as nicotine means I keep a couple tobacco plants growing just so they're around. I can't grow neem trees, or maybe I can. I've never tried it, actually. Maybe you can. I'll have to look it up. But it's going to take a long time before I can get one in any case. And I don't necessarily have enough room to add too many neem trees to the current lineup of trees that we're growing here. What in the heck? Can't make out what Mary's trying to talk about there. Anyway. Bring me up saying neem works as a preventative. If you have an infestation, use safer soap. All right. So what I can grow locally, of course, is tobacco. I can grow tobacco, and there are also a few other plants that bugs tend to not like. Things like elderberry, for example. Now, elderberry doesn't seem to be immune to grasshopper predation. I don't know what's immune to grasshopper predation, in all actuality, but apparently, if you've got issues with insects, you can harvest the leaves of elderberry and make a tea out of the leaves, or a decoction, boil down the leaves, and use that to treat for insects. Well, whenever I have enough elderberry, I'll give that a shot. But in any case, if I can manage to do most of my insect control by managing other vectors, um, toads and frogs, lizards, snakes, birds, and stuff like that to come in, and other predatory insects as well, to come in and provide that entire uh, ecosystem to keep the insect population in check, I think that'd be better off in the long run. Drops is saying neem is a tropical plant. Yeah, I know they grow it in India, but that's fairly wide range of climates are in India. So just saying they grow it in India doesn't really tell me too much. I know that's where they grew it, but I don't know exactly what latitude. Vicky's saying Roundup is glyphosate. Think Agent Orange, proven to scramble genetics of people. Also other issues with things like Roundup and thing that worries me about Roundup Ready crops is not the Roundup itself, although that is a bit of a problem, but it's also the tinkering with the genetics of the plant so that it can survive the Roundup, but other things can't. Um, what are the other effects that come about from manipulating those genes? And unless you can really demonstrate that there are no other potentially harmful side effects that come from manipulating those genes, then maybe it's a better idea you don't tamper with those. Just think. Vicky says she has all three of the JDAM books. That's pretty cool. I don't have any. I hear enough about it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. We have this thing called Korea natural farming. Have you ever heard of it? It's where you take your weeds and you turn them into fertilizer, among other things. Like, yeah, I've heard of taking your weeds and turning them into fertilizer. I was using a liquid compost system for a while, where you take your weeds and you put them into a barrel, cover it with water, add a little bit of sugar, help get those bacteria going. Maybe a little Epsom salts if you think you need a little magnesium sulfate, or you wanted to make it slightly more acidic. Not great if you really wanted to get bacteria starting in there, but I mean, shoot, you can. Pitch a dead raccoon or squirrel or possum or rat or whatever you had in there, and off you go. Within 2 years after you've got a bucket like that going, it loses most of the smell, and you can filter out all the solid material that's left, and it's mud that's left at the bottom. The solids are mud. There'll be a little bit of the cellulose that couldn't decompose under those circumstances, and then whenever that's introduced into the soil, bacteria can, or not bacteria, but a fungi can move in there, break down the cellulose, and the entire process is complete. But those barrels full of rotten vegetables provide a pretty good feed for your vegetable garden. What side effects are there from Roundup? Good luck paying to say, yeah, right. There's no money in that. And Mary already knows where I'm going with this. Is now I've come up with a new method. I know it's horrible, just always changing things on you. But my new method is I take my weeds and I cut them and I feed them to the ducks, and then the ducks poo and they like to poo in the water, so the ducks are either running back and forth in between the rows and in the gardens, keeping the hopefully keeping the gophers out by running around and pecking at everything that moves, keeping the bug population down. They'll be fertilizing as they go, eating extra weeds up off the ground. So I just control the period of time that the ducks are in the garden. So, for example, I plant my corn. I don't let the ducks in there until after the corn gets up to maybe 3 foot or so, 3 or 4 foot, so that they can't trample it down and eat it. Otherwise, they will. They'll trample it and they'll eat it. They have no problem eating corn, but they don't want to eat the stalk, right? They want to eat the tender bits. So the tender bits are up here out of their reach. They can't get to them. Stabby says, I saw your barrel of organic matter, your gunpowder. Oddly enough, not really gunpowder videos, more potassium nitrate videos. What you choose to do with your nitrates after you've got nitrates, that's your business. But I'm just saying, one of these days you might need to be able to make your own fertilizer. There could be something like a supply chain shortage or something like that. I know it sounds crazy, but hey, yeah, that was a year before. But just the general idea that maybe it's a good idea that you have an idea how you're going to take care of some of these things if you can't get them from the supply chain that you're used to, right? Stabby, in the back along the fence line, I've got a series of 30-gallon trash cans, and each of those is filled with liquid that are weeds and water in various states of decay. And my goal is to have a rotating supply of at least 2-year-old liquid organic compost ready to go, up to 30 gallons of it. After I filter out or after I sift out the solids, I'll probably have about 15 to 20 gallons of this nice concentrated plant juice. And by this time, it's gotten all the nutrients out. It's mostly smell free. But yeah, I mean, nowadays I just feed the ducks. They go poo in their water tubs. I empty the water tubs into buckets and carry that around to wherever I need the fertilizer. For the longest time, I was worried about how I was going to go about commercially producing trees. If I'm going to produce air layers, or if I'm going to grow from seed and graft onto these and produce more trees, how am I going to do that in a way that is ethical for one thing, and trying to keep to that organic theme where I'm not having to go out and buy an artificial fertilizer to do it. And the way eventually we got there is the ducks. I feed the ducks. They make liquid organic fertilizer on the spot. I pour it into the kiddie pool where the trees are growing, and we're all set. He says duck poo has bacteria that can get you sick. Well, don't eat the bacteria. Oh. Let's see. Aw. I'm a young pup. I'm only 51 this year. Oh yeah, and I'm out of coffee. I'm a 51-year-old man without no coffee in this coffee cup. Golly, all I've got left is this pumpkin flavored liqueur. I can't drink that without coffee in it. Shoot. Oh. Oh my goodness. So anyway, Mary's got it right. Bird poop is just gross. It's all poop. Ew, it's poop. Ah, yes. Yeah, it's so gross. It's poop. Oh, of course, you put it on a tree. The tree grows. Okay. If you touch a duck poo slime that itch your butt, you can get chicken butt. Good to know. I'll try to avoid itching my butt. Yeah, it said being in Generation X. Somebody says like you were raised by wolves. I said, nah, that's not what it's like. We weren't raised by wolves. We went out there, we caught the wolves, we butchered and had them for dinner because we were hungry. There was nobody around to feed us. If you want something, you got to go get it yourself. Uh, yes, the rabbit hole of gunsmithing. Veteran Iron and Wood sometimes pops in for live streams. I've watched a couple of his videos. Trying to do it the old-fashioned way, building your gun barrel from scratch by welding iron and wrapping it and everything. Interesting stuff. If you had to do it all from scratch, now, whew, I don't know. I mean, realistically speaking, I could probably provide uh, provide the source of ammunition for a flintlock for a while, but in all likelihood, given the amount of ammunition that the average prepper's got stored up, we will probably all be dead before we run out of ammunition. So there'll still be ammo out there, I think. Had chicken butt. Yeah, buying old Mossberg is pretty cheap. Well, they run about maybe two. Well, okay, I haven't priced one in a while, but I think the Mossberg 500 that Mary and I got years and years ago, back in the single digit 2000s. I think that was 250. So not an expensive gun. Big question, I guess, would be what's your optimal caliber or optimal gauge for a shotgun for a multi use tool. Maybe a 20 gauge. You can use your number 4 shot for it to hunt for turkeys and geese and stuff like that. And number was it number 7.5 or something like that to go for pheasant. Drops is saying 410. You go down to a 410/45 long colt. Could be. I mean, how good of a pattern do you get off of a 410? And then really, do you need a shotgun pattern for most of your shooting? I guess would be another good question. I mean, do you need it? Um, yeah, sound of a pump on a shotgun being worked is one of the greatest home defense things you can get. Could you put it on a cassette player? Just press a button and you make that sound. You press the button, you hear the sound of the shotgun slide being worked. Pardon me, can I use your phone? You need to use what now? Oh, never mind, I'm fine now. I'm thinking 20 gauge, probably. I mean, we got the 12 because everybody gets the 12, but you could probably use the 20 gauge to good effect for most of your rolls. 20 gauge rifled slugs for deer, maybe even hog or something larger, and then you can put in a shot load for turkeys and geese, and maybe something lighter for ducks. You just handle most of your applications off the same tool. Being able to do a whole lot of things with the same tool is very valuable. Right? Having tools that are reliable It's valuable too. Carolyn saying, good idea to use bat poop. No caves around here to get it from. Guano. Yeah. Well, bird droppings too. The Mossberg for home defense. Just the sound of that pump being worked is usually enough to make people think twice. Yep. I remember once when I was a young lad, I was about, I want to say 7 years old, somewhere around there. 6 or 7, very, very young. Anyway, we had occasion to be at my grandmother's house. This is let's see, what year is that? 77, 78, somewhere around there. Of course, that's the old farmhouse. Way out in the woods. Well, not in the woods, out in the countryside. No woods nearby. A few small woods. No forests nearby. We'll put it that way. Out in the sticks. There we go. That's a better way of putting it. All right, so we're way out in the sticks. There's one road that goes zoom, straight in front of the house, and there's nothing for miles. So one night there's a knocking on the front door. Go down there, investigate, and somebody says, "Oh, my car broke down. Can I use the phone?" In order for your car to break down, you've got to be, you're miles away from any highway on ramp. You're out here in the middle of nowhere. You're on a backcountry road, and it's the middle of the night, pitch black outside. There are no street lights. There's nothing. It's just dark outside. This house is here all by itself. Nobody around for miles. So my mom walks up to the door with the Winchester Model 1200 Defender and goes, "Chink, chink. You need what?" And immediately on the other side of the door, the guy said, "I'm fine." And he takes off. So I don't know. I don't know what the fellow was out there for. Maybe he really did have a broke down car. Maybe he really did need to use the phone. But a lady with a 12 gauge shotgun that may or may not be loaded with something that they just racked was enough to make him decide that he didn't want to use our phone after all. He could have walked 2 or 3 miles and come to a Quick Trip, which is a kind of a service station. So you need to use the phone. There's a service station up the road. Get on with you. So that sound, it works. There's nothing that stops. There's nothing that stops bad behavior, like the thought that you just might not be able to get away with it. Just maybe might not be able to get away with it. Anywho's, I took one of those pecan trees that we got from air layering, and I put it into a sandbag with bark mulch around it. Put it into a kiddie pool, and we have watered the bottom of the kiddie pool with used duck water. So there's the fertilizer for the tree and everything else in there. And we'll see how it works. If it gets through the winter, then yay! Come next dormant period, next fall, we will have air layered on their own root Wichita cultivar pecan trees available on the website. So yay! In between now and whenever the leaves fall, I guess I'm going to be running around and flagging seedlings and seedling pecan trees. We got a few seedling pecan trees. I got to identify. I've got a pussy willow. I've got to get pulled up and relocated, and a whole host of redbud trees. So I believe come this year, here in a couple of months, we're going to have redbud trees, Cercis canadensis, on the website. I finally have enough, I think, that we can start selling them. Anyway, Drops is getting ready to go because somebody wants his attention, and besides, we're only supposed to run for an hour here. Stevie says Judge might have bigger bullets in my block, but mine can hold way more. Shot placement is king, right? I mean, what are those? What are those 45s? 135, 140? No, they're more than that, aren't they? 155 grain, something like that. I can't remember how heavy the projectiles are on my 45. They're 137 on the 38, and I think they're 140. I think they're 145 on the 9mm. 147 on the 9mm. Don't ask me what I was just looking at over here on the side. So that's a fairly decent projectile. If it's traveling at a sufficient velocity, whenever it impacts, that's foot-pounds of energy, and really that's what it all boils down to, is foot-pounds of energy and shot placement. So yeah, Beam Me Up says if you can be surgical at 22 is fine. Shot placement, yeah, shot placement is all important. Having more shots means you have got more chances to hit the spot that you needed to shoot. I mean, at ordinary ranges, I'm not going to miss a target size of a dinner plate, but if I'm trying to avoid getting shot by, say, maniac, and I'm trying to fire back, then my accuracy level is going to drop. I'm going to estimate maybe I'll miss half the time. If I miss half the time, then that means I have a 50% hit ratio. 1 in 4 shots on the average that makes contact is going to be sufficient to absolutely end the fight. One of them may, if the person that's hit isn't given immediate first aid, and the other 2 are superficial wounds. That's 1 in 4. That means if I'm going to miss half the time, I have to have 8 shots to deal with one potential assailant. So do you need a 30 round magazine? I mean, I'm only perfect whenever I'm not stressed. So yeah, I would need a 30 round magazine. I can't imagine anybody that doesn't shoot on a regular basis would need fewer bullets. So he's saying, need more range time. Don't we all? I need cheaper ammo too. I need cheap ammo and more range time. Always more range time, because it's, I don't know about you guys. I just enjoy shooting. It's fun. There you go. It's not who shoots first, but who connects first. That's what counts. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Take your time, do it right the first time. And also in a firefight, eventually everybody loses. Okay, yeah, wax. Okay, here we go. So it's a birdshot load, wax hold together until the slug hits something and splits. Then splits apart and won't go through walls. That's nice. I mean, self-defense with a firearm in cramped and crowded quarters, apartments with paper-thin walls. I mean, they've got drywall, maybe 1 layer of OSB in between, if that much. That's not enough to stop anything. And people just don't pay a whole lot of attention to what's on the other side of your intended target, especially in an emergency situation. So yeah, choose things that are going to be a little bit nicer to your neighbors, because you're not going to hit every time. It dumps almost 100% of the first thing it hits. That's nice. Yeah, manage expectations. You don't want to have, you don't want to have a 44 Magnum with a monolithic slug, right? I didn't intend to be talking about guns, but hey, here we are. For a self-defense weapon, if you're in the city, a 44 Magnum with a monolithic slug in it, that's not what you want. That's great for penetrating. That's great for, I don't know, I want to go shoot a pistol at a hog instead of shooting it with a rifle like a sane person. But it's not something that's great for in the city self-defense, simply because you're not going to hit every shot, and that bullet has to go somewhere. So, yeah, a lighter powder load and hollow points. Oddly enough, lighter powder load. Go for less penetration. And if you have to go for less penetration, incidentally, go for more firepower. Have more rounds in your magazine. I mean, definitely get more rounds. That way, you can do, say, 2 injuring shots instead of 1 really serious incapacitating shot. Get the same effect and have less chance of harming innocent bystanders. Keeping the mindset of I want to be as safe for everyone around me as possible, and still be able to adequately defend myself. Right. Pavlov's sheep is asking, best silent range weapon? A bow. A bow, a crossbow, a compound bow, or a recurve bow. Although with my shoulder over here the way it is, I can't handle a bow the way I used to anymore. Sniff, sniff. Judy's in the house. Got her wood stove humming. Yep. I'll tell you what, though. I've been doing this thing where just slowly, little by little, piece by piece, trying to think about, okay, what would I do if somebody drops an EMP, we lose our power grid, something happens like that, and we just have to make do with what you got. You got to make do with the canned food that you've got in the pantry right now, what you can grow and harvest next year, and of course, what you have for fuel to keep yourself going. Got to pump your own water, got to filter your own water, all that good stuff. So, been gathering things together, and slowly you've been just sort of phasing those things in and making them part of everyday life. Because this is the thing I discovered back when I was in the Navy, and we were going through simulations, getting ready to go into war. Whenever the fighting started, the fact that we were at gun quarters and we were actually firing real ordnance at real targets instead of just practicing, it didn't make any difference, because everything that we were doing was exactly the same as the simulation. We weren't behaving any differently. So the fact that it's real war now, it's really happening now, it didn't have any great impact or effect, other than the fact that, those are real missiles they're shooting back at us and stuff like that. To the extent that you can make your survival or prepping life just everyday life, and this is normal, and so I've got a wood stove, and the fuel that I use in my wood stove that I stay warm with in the winter, I can get by going and gathering down trees all up and down the trail that's running next to my house. I can do that whether we've got a functioning supply chain or not. So every year, if I spend the effort to go up and down that trail and look for dead trees and drag them back home, or section them up and drag them home, I've got fuel for the coming year. So all I have to do is let it season and then split it out. And then more and more as I can, I want to try to get more of my calories produced here locally at home, or more of my other vegetables, to the point where eventually, if something happens, you can't go to the grocery store and get whatever. Well, okay, well, we don't have the grocery store, but I've got eggs coming from the ducks out there. The ducks are eating my weeds for me and keeping my little pest problems, slugs and snails and stuff like that, taken care of. They provide me with the fertilizer that I couldn't get from the store. And maybe I've got some little fish or shrimp that I'm growing in ponds around the property to supplement the other vegetables and other items that I have. And okay, I think we could probably make do. But in actuality, getting to that sort of level of self-sufficiency, it's hard to get there overnight. Just do a little bit of time. One piece at a time, one day at a time, right? Beat me up, Mr. Scott says, I hate paying that gas bill. Whew, I'll bet. And here with a safety tip just for sign off for the night. Vicky says, I've heard that if you can smell cucumbers where they don't grow, you're aggravating a copperhead. That's pretty cool. So the smell of cucumber is the smell of an annoyed copperhead. Probably won't kill you, but the bite can make you definitely sick. And if you're already weak, it may be enough to put you under. Well, shoot. Imagine if you get incredibly sick from a snake bite. The snake bite itself doesn't kill you, but it prevents you from doing some things that you needed to do. You know, going out there and getting your wood chopped, or going out there and getting your water, or whatever else it is. Things can add on. Small circumstances can add up to big ones. My neighbor across the way went out on his little motor scooter. He was out there in Missouri, tooling around on the back roads, and he wound up going off the road, which tends to happen out there times. But he wound up going off the road into a ravine, took a tumble, broke a bunch of bones. And he was fortunate that somebody was able to somebody knew where he was that could go and get him in. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made it back at all. Just because, those little things like, hey, whenever you're out in the middle of the woods and you don't have anybody to help you, a small accident can become life-threatening really fast. If we use hot air produced by politicians, we could never run out of fuel, no doubt, right? Yep. Who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll be able to get rid of them entirely somehow. In the meantime, guys, hey, I've really enjoyed having you with me here tonight. I'm getting ready to go grab some more logs and put them on the fire because the little fan that's rotating on the top is starting to slow down, and it's time to put a little bit more fuel on there. We're gonna have some fun videos coming out here in the next week or so. Bringing in the guppy is going to be one. Showing how the air layer pecans turned out. Little tiny roots on them, not a lot, just a few, but they rooted. Yes, preliminary success. I don't know if they're going to make it all the way through to next year or not, but we can definitely try again next year, maybe a little bit earlier, whenever I can start slipping the bark and maybe get more. What else? Lots of cloning videos with sweet potatoes. If you ever wanted to, brownies. if you ever wanted to learn how to get plants to start from cuttings, start with sweet potatoes. You'll build all the confidence you can possibly use, starting with sweet potatoes, because it's almost impossible to not get a sweet potato vine to root. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for tonight. As always, if you found the video informative or entertaining, you know what to do. I'll catch you next time. Until then, get out there and get growing. And good night.